Good morning and good afternoon, everybody. It's always a pleasure to be on the same platform as Foreign Minister Holguín and with Minister Manrique to come and Minister Rutley. When I was talking to James recently about sustainability, I was explaining how this idea is now embedded across the range of work that we do here in the embassy, from environment to trade to development work, even security. And it needs to be, because no government can deliver it alone. And to be truly sustainable means a partnership between the private and public sectors and civil society. One of the advantages of going almost first is I can provide a little context before getting into sector specifics. And so, as we're all aware, Latin America's tropical forests are among the most biodiverse ecosystems in the world. The region is home to both the Amazon and 3 million species. As such, the region is very vulnerable to climate change and the effects of climate change. Many Latin American economies rely on extractive industries and depend on the export of natural resources. And to a certain extent, Ecuador is no exception to that. The transition to a more diversified export portfolio takes time. And therefore, Latin American economies will continue to depend on extractive industries and need greener technologies and the processes to achieve sustainability for some time to come. But natural resource dependency causes tensions between the short-term profit priorities and long-term sustainability goals. And this is where Ecuador, along with its partners, including the UK, is working hard and is showing regional and global leadership. Climate change sees extreme meteorological events devastating production, tourism, infrastructure. Precipitation fluctuations also threaten long-term productivity of agricultural outputs. For example, climate change poses a serious risk to salmon farming in Chile, coffee production in Colombia, and cacao production in Ecuador, where they do actually have some of the best chocolate. However, many Latin American countries could also benefit from this global transition, as they have large mineral resources, lithium, copper, nickel, etc., that are essential for developing the low carbon technologies of the future. Latin America needs greener industrial policies and strengthened private investment in sustainable projects to take advantage of decarbonisation transition. They need to protect its natural resources and landscapes and to adapt to future consumer demands. So what's the UK doing here in Ecuador? Well, the UK is investing £100 million globally in the new Biodiverse Landscapes Fund, a flagship biodiversity programme from the British government. And Ecuador was selected as one of only 6 biodiverse landscapes globally to join this 7-year programme. We recently signed the bilateral MOU between our governments during CBD COP15 in Montreal. And the programme's goals are to tackle climate change and biodiversity loss by uplifting local communities' capabilities on sustainable forestry management, sustainable livelihoods, sustainable agriculture, and sustainable use of natural resources. So I think you've all got a sense of the sustainability element that is embedded within this programme. With support from the UK government, Ecuador has moved forward on forest protection initiatives, signing a letter of intent on the LEAF Coalition and gaining access to new funding streams. Our International Forests Unit is also providing technical support to Ecuador's decarbonisation plan, but I'm sure Minister Manrique will cover more of that in detail later. Ecuador is also promoting a range of public-private partnerships to accelerate the transition to clean energy and is aiming to open an international tendering process. Indeed, the President mentioned just yesterday that these projects will be announced in the coming weeks. The UK government is assisting with the development of these projects and this portfolio, and DEFRA has been scoping further collaboration opportunities via the new terrestrial 30 by 30 programme, which is in its design phase. In January 2021, as James mentioned, and just earlier this month when Environment Secretary Teresa Coffey visited, we announced that we will be supporting the CMAR initiative that creates the world's biggest transboundary marine protected area in the Eastern Pacific. CMAR is a joint regional cooperation mechanism between Ecuador, Costa Rica, Colombia, and Peru for the conservation of marine biodiversity. Ecuador is also the first Latin American country to announce a partnership with the Global Plastic Action Partnership, GPAP. GPAP was launched in 2018 and is the UK's flagship investment into a public-private partnership to reduce plastics pollution in the oceans of the developing countries. GPAP is funded through the UK's £500 million Blue Planet Fund, and I'm very pleased that Foreign Minister Holguín mentioned Ecuador's active work in fighting against plastics pollution around the world. DEFRA here is also funding the Nature Transition Support Programme, the NTSP, and that is strategically helping the government here to achieve their vision of the ecological transition policy. And in 2022, the UK contributed with funds to the United Nations Development Programme Climate Promise, which helps countries deliver on their nationally determined contributions to support integration of nature into country planning and delivery. And Ecuador was one of the 8 priority countries that we identified, and we are continuing to support that climate promise. On trade, we have our R&D and trade agreement in place since January 2021. And we've been providing targeted institutional support to Ecuador to develop their $30 billion PPP portfolio through enhanced capacity building under an MOU I signed in January of this year. Looking in more detail at sustainable investment in specific sectors, there are some that stand out. Agritech. I'll start with agritech, but I'm conscious that Nick Armstrong is on the panel later on. And so I need to make sure I get my facts and figures right, as Nick is the expert on this. But here in Ecuador, the agriculture and livestock sector was 7.9% of Ecuador's GDP in 2021. That equates in real terms to a gross value added of approximately £4.8 billion. The sector is looking to reduce its environmental impact by implementing technologies that can optimize resources such as water, electricity, and livestock, as well as getting certifications focused on sustainability and ensuring the production cycle needed to access international markets. The UK has an excellent offer on smart farming and green technology for agriculture. For example, the company Farmer Charlie brings Wi-Fi internet to the fields, weather and field sensors, agribusiness information at a cost affordable to smallholder farmers looking to improve their decision-making processes. On aquaculture and prawn production, that sector represented 1.7% of Ecuadorian GDP in 2021, in real terms, some £945 million. Ecuador surpassed India to become the world's largest exporter of prawn products, and this has become the main non-oil export product in Ecuador for a 4th consecutive year. There is great potential in aquaculture, given prawn exports increased by 26% last year alone. A growth possible because the sector is investing more in research and development, artificial intelligence, and big data, as well as freezing and storage capacity. In addition, at the start of 2022, bank loans to the prawn sector increased 82% over 2021, and these funds are being used to upgrade processes and develop automatic feeding. The UK can offer 4 agri-tech centres of agricultural innovation, where UK Innovate made a £90 million investment to develop new research. Also, the UK is developing the UK Aquaculture Initiative, a joint effort between the Biological Research Council and the Natural Environmental Research Council. This initiative supports high-quality, innovative research to develop safe and sustainable aquaculture systems. But the sector also remains open to private sector investment in process and production enhancement. Energy transition is another key area of sustainable investment potential. In 2021, over 60% of Ecuador's energy came from renewable sources, with non-renewable sources contributing 39%. Hydroelectric power represents 96%, with biomass, photovoltaic, wind and biogas bringing the totals up but to a small percentage. Ecuador has the potential to increase other non-renewable sources aside from hydroelectric power. For example, last year, the Ministry of Energy presented a plan to promote the production of green hydrogen to Ecuador. Hydrogen production is a mature technology, with the UK producing 740,000 tonnes of hydrogen for industry use and can offer its experience to Ecuador. Ecuador has high solar radiation, and there is a great potential to expand this energy source. The UK has a large installed capacity of solar and proven experience in medium-scale solar offers. Renewable energy products will form part of the PPP portfolio that the country aims to announce in the near future, and this offers the private sector substantial investment opportunities. And of course, our hosts today, Anglo-American, have already mentioned the responsible mining opportunities that are on offer here in Ecuador, and I'm sure that they will talk to that later on. I know Minister Rutley will be giving some regional examples of UK expertise in action from his travels that I would certainly like to see replicated here in Ecuador. So to round off, I'll just quickly mention that I was speaking to Trade Minister Prado last night, and we agreed that we will still look to host an Ecuador Open for Business event in the UK in the latter part of this year. So as that idea develops, I'll make sure that I keep James informed and he can keep all of you informed, as sustainable investment will be an integral part of that offer. Thank you all very much.